selling cars since '83. I'm busting fools and teaching schools, sharing tools and breaking rules. Cruising Danny, they say it's me, breaking it down for all to see. Keep it simple, keep it clear. The status quo is all I fear.
Brent Wees, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up?
Nothing.
Hey, what's going on, Danny?
What's going on up there north of the border, pal?
Well, it's like minus 1,000 up here today, but fortunately, we're not getting hit with the big snowstorm that's hitting the East Coast right now. So while it is really super cold here, and the lake in my little town is freezing over as we speak, I'm not stuck in an airport somewhere on the East Coast like some of our peers are. So I'll take it.
You know you're north when all of the really bad weather is to the south of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like weird reverse global warming, except you can still get frostbite where I am.
So you're Are you in Toronto?
Yeah, I'm. Our offices are right downtown Toronto, like right near where we're like blocks away from where the Jays play baseball. But I live about 2 hours outside of town. I got out of the city into a little place on a lake, and it's quiet. I'm a quiet person. I'm very introverted.
Whatever.
Close. I need quiet.
Where do they make Crown Royal?
What?
Waterloo?
What does that have anything to do with?
That's the only thing I know about Canada.
Where's the booze from? Windsor. Windsor's like 4 hours southwest of here.
All right.
And apparently that's they make Crown Royal kind of all across the country in different places.
Okay.
We tap it out of trees like maple syrup. There's like booze trees and maple trees.
Okay.
And Crown Royal is like just like maple syrup up here.
Yeah. Well,
pancakes.
We're going to quit talking about that.
A boot.
I had to work that in. Oh, and by the way, in honor of you, which by the way, viewer
is a stretch.
This is for you.
That's sweet, man.
Thank you. I'll be wearing this throughout the whole interview.
That's a good hat.
It is. I'm also going to have Elvis Costello on the
show, doing Veronica for everyone.
Hey, okay, let's just start with music. You love music, right?
I do. I absolutely love it.
Okay, what type of music? Or what's on your phone right now?
I got these guys. Bane, another punk hardcore act out of that side of the country. Good
jazz. Hardcore jazz.
No, hardcore punk.
Oh, okay.
Punk music. Ska. I've got like the Specials out of England, like some live stuff from them. But then it goes to I got some old Style Council. Bit of Portishead on my phone right now. I got a 12-year-old kid on my phone by the name of Joey Alexander. He's a jazz pianist, and Wynton Marsalis has been kind of mentoring this kid.
Right.
This kid is scary good. Like he's like nobody I've ever heard.
So you have incredibly varied music taste.
Yeah, I like to listen to a lot of stuff, but I am like a punk rock kid and a ska kid. Like that's the scene I came out of, and
not necessarily music, but your kind of attitude about things. You're looking super handsome that close to the camera.
Okay, how's that?
That's
better?
Worse. That's back up.
I'll do the whole thing like here.
You took a good thing and went overboard.
That's usually what I do.
The reason I wanted you as one of my first guests is that exact reason, that you're eclectic, you're weird, you're crazy, you absolutely loathe the status quo, which I do too, and God knows there's enough of that in our business. I did notice some things we had in common on your LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn skills that we have in common. I was looking at your LinkedIn page: digital marketing, marketing strategy, marketing, leadership, social media marketing, and then dancing and awesomeness.
Are those on there? That's so good.
They're not technically.
I'm a tremendous dancer.
I'm incredible. I actually do really well with like 80s type dancing. Kind of like the Carlton.
Like jumping up and down. Here's a story about the Carlton, and I'll just share this.
Good.
My wife's best friend Robin was married to Alfonso Ribeiro for several years, so I actually spent some quality time with Mr. Ribeiro and the man who is Carlton
No
for several
way.
years until they were married for quite some time and yeah, so I spent Y2K at his parents' house on New Year's Eve.
And you made it through.
I did. His
We
mom's
lived.
lovely person. Yeah, I did.
We lived through
We
Y2K. I thought it was over.
I survived Y2K while spending time with Carlton's mom and dad and Todd Bridges' mom.
Oh, see, I love people you can.
Weirdest New Year's Eve ever.
Well, no one can top that story.
Oh, I'm sure someone can.
Well, I know, but I mean that's so unique. I one time met a guy who traded a vasectomy for a racing pigeon. There you go.
See, I booked my vasectomy in the coming weeks, and I didn't even think about doing anything for trade.
No, if you had a racing pigeon, I know the guy.
I got like I don't know. I'm looking around my desk here to see what I could trade. I got like an old pencil case and like some prescription glasses from about 4 years ago. Maybe I can barter that up.
Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna have to get a big box of stuff. Okay, let's get on to business.
But I digress.
But I digress. Tell everybody kind of what you do, a little bit of your transformation into the car business, and what you do and what your company does real quick. Well, this isn't a commercial. I just want to give them some background.
Yeah. Super quick. I'm a partner in a product incubator called Powered by Dashboard, and we're out of Toronto, Ontario. We started as a digital agency for a lot of years, and then 2 years ago, we started to ratchet out all of our agency clientele because we were really engaged with product incubation, creating products. Our first product was Glovebox. It's a dealer website product that's across Canada. From the OEM level right down to dealer level. We were first out of the gates with responsive design about 4 years ago, playing on that platform. We've done a bunch of things since, a retention marketing tool called Bumper, a gamification tool called RevUps, which is now sort of into its, out of its first year of infancy and again, getting a lot of adoption. So we're continually trying to create tools. The mandate of what we try to do is just to make it super easy.
In a conversation, you keep talking about kind of the DIY movement, the do-it-yourself movement. Tell everybody what you mean by that.
Well, yeah, we're just kind of doing it now, like you said, with how dealers need to keep learning and evolving. Like from what we're doing on the product incubation side, I watch. There's a documentary called American Hardcore, and it's about the punk scene in the States in the early 80s, and like what was going on in England, and like the Clash and the Sex Pistols and all these bands. Like there was a scene, and there was like sort of a real production behind it. The record companies got behind it, and the American bands sort of went, we don't want to do it that way. We want to strip it down and get it right to its guts. And the bands were like really sort of real and no bullshit and
right.
Just about what they were doing. Thing about it though too is they stayed away from the labels. So the interesting thing about that whole movement, where you had guys like Henry Rollins and Ian MacKaye and Bob Moulds, guys who have had numerous bands and written books, and they're activists and they're interviewers and speakers, and Ian MacKaye, who was the leader of Minor Threat, talks about how they had to learn and build everything because they did everything themselves. Like right. Ian, there's a story about how Ian wrote this record company in England to ask them to just mail him a sleeve of a 7-inch for an album thing, and they pulled it all apart and they made this rough sketch of it and sent it to a printer in Washington where they were out of, and they just learned how to cut it and build it. And right. He said they probably hand glued and put together their first 10,000 albums. I see that with the dealers as they start going to these conferences and they start learning about what they should be doing, and there's vendors like me talking about things and dealers talking about things and how they're doing stuff. Like like you go to Tom White Jr. about anything Tom White does about like what he's doing in Wichita and how killer that is. But that's sort of that is a DIY movement, right?
And Tom White Jr., by the way, is he's agreed to come on the show, so I'm really excited about that.
Is he just going to do like a cooking segment?
No, we're totally going to talk about cooking. Every time, I can't even go to his Facebook page without getting hungry. But we're going to talk about cooking and about how weird he is and how awesome he is, because way before I met him, I fell in love with then Suzuki of Wichita, now Subaru of Wichita, because they just said, this is what we're going to do, and we don't care, and this is our plan. We're going to do it ourselves, like you said. And, they kill it, and they do a great job, and they take incredibly good care of their people. Well, along that lines, I guess it's the not vendors, because vendors are necessary, but it's
Yeah.
that mentality of the cookie cutter programs, one size fits all kind of a deal. I'm at a smaller dealership, and so a lot of these things that I see at conferences, and this is the way you should do it, it doesn't make any sense here. And our market's different, our people are different. How important is it for these people listening to understand that you just can't take all of these things you hear and implement all these things, that you have to make your own way and you have to test them? I mean, tell the viewers how important that is.
Like what like again, I'll go back to something Rollins said. He said, question everything and anything. Right? This is a famous quote of his. He said, question everything and anything. And to me, that is punk rock. And I think for those dealers, like you said, I think large or small, you have to look at all of this information you're getting at the conferences and go, okay, how does this truly affect me? Is it scalable to my size of store?
Right. I actually did I think it was with Mike Cirillo, about examining and maximizing the ROI of a conference as a dealer. And one of the things that I talked about, and I think you'll agree, and you were hitting on it right there, is that for those dealers that are listening, whether you're a general manager, general sales manager, salesperson, and you're going to go to a conference, you need to do some pre-work before you go to the conference. You need to find out who's speaking, what topics they're speaking on, and find out what it is that you're specifically needing, and go specifically and look for those things. Because if you just go there and open up to everything, you're going to get knocked out and you're going to get off.
Oh yeah, your
task.
brain's going to get blown out.
Yeah, right. And so if you go in with a plan, then take that plan, then come back, execute it, prioritize it, put those things in effect that you can that work in your market, I think you'll end up getting more out of those conferences. But I just think it's important that we don't get inundated. And let me tell you, the vendors and the people at these conferences, they're there to inundate you. I mean, they're salespeople. They're making a living just like anyone else, and they need to sign people up. They need to get demos. Yeah. But is that always at the best interest of the dealer?
Well, and I think you hit it there, right? And I do it, with the launch of the magazine. Of course, I want to talk to people about it, dealer and vendor side, and get people contributing. So that was really the play this past eight. Like we weren't there with a booth as we normally are. I was there to speak. And I'll engage the dealers that show up at the session, and they'll come up afterwards, and we'll shoot the breeze on that. But I know what you're saying about those vendors, like their staff teams that are on the floor, like those poor guys have pretty hard mandates from their ownership to go, this is how many things you got to sign a day, this is how many demos we got to do, and they're sweating it out too, right? So they're aggressive. The dealers are like beat up because, like you said, if they didn't come with a game plan, they start feeling like Tom Hopkins said it on Facebook this week, feel like a piece of meat, right? Yeah. Like going through there, and he's right. I think that if when I left beforehand, like I'll sit down at the office, we sat down with the staff from the magazine, and they told me, like, go out and find this sort of content, go out and talk to these kind of people about the strategy mob. Because I also respect the rules of those conferences. If I'm not there with a booth, I'm not suitcasing either. Right. I'll engage with my friends, and I'll talk about like our publication or things like that. But it's tough. So you go down there. We go down with a game plan every time, right? And like I said, if you're there with a booth, it's like, yeah, let's try to get these many people registered, and at least let's try to raise this much awareness. Because at the end of the day, we all have to make money. But I think there's a level of empathy that we actually need to understand what the dealer has to go through, be it if he's in a group or if he's a small dealer, and they need the empathy to understand what we, the vendors, either are trying to do or based on who bought us and how big that engine is, what's forced down on those, what was like once a smaller vendor that's now in a bigger suite of products based on who bought them. I think there needs to be sort of a reset to go, okay, what does everyone have to do? And then we can have a bit of empathy to go, yeah, I don't need to talk to you because here's my goals for this show. Right. And I think if you communicate those, then the vendors can sort of say, leave you alone, but also maybe they can also direct you to someone that can help you, and vice versa. Right?
Well, we're in a big box world. Dealers are just continually be bought out by other dealers, and the groups are getting bigger, and the vendors are buying everyone up, and so we're getting these giant chains, and our vendors are these giant conglomerates, and it's just becoming a really different business in front of our very eyes. And back on the point as far as Tom Hawkins talking about feeling like a piece of meat, isn't it ironic that we talk about what it's like to be ambushed and to be pressured and to feel like we're a piece of meat when customers have been telling us that for years,
Yeah.
And so we're saying, oh, we feel like we're being pressured and inundated. Hey, the light should come on. And if we don't like that feeling because we have that badge that says dealer on it, what about the one that walks onto your lot? I mean, they might as well have the badge that just says customer. And we just need to take all those things into consideration. And so I think that's irony at its best. All right, let's change gears. Let's talk about, quickly, let's talk about websites in particular. And I was at a recent conference, I was in discussions about factory OEM or OEM mandated sites versus third-party sites. And back to this big box thing that we're talking about. The OEM mandated sites have these restrictions and limitations. Tell me your thoughts on OEM mandated sites versus third-party sites from a website standpoint.
Yeah, being a guy who's been doing sites forever, I honestly I feel bad for dealers that get stuck on it. Like up in Canada, the imports, they don't, like the Toyotas and the Nissans and the Hyundais have let the dealers like find their vendors of choice and put out like, here's the brand and web guidelines. Your regional managers will make sure you're compliant, but use who you're going to use. Or they'll give you a list of, here's 8 different companies that we prefer,
right?
And you'll get your co-op or whatever. But, the domestics up here push OEM, mandated sites down on the dealers. And I feel bad for dudes, man, because when you look at some of the best, again, we'll go back to Tom White, or you go to a Weiler Automotive Group, like you look at what they do and how they either tell their story or emerge their content. And so like Mike Cirillo has said before about content marketing, you need the flexibility to write things and do things on your site a certain way. You need to be able to work with your vendor. I talked last week about quiet is the new loud. And I was talking about how the mobile traffic is so high that the more we start designing for mobile first transaction with the customer, the big screen gets quieter and our designs get quieter, and every page should only be one thing. Truly, like one goal of that page. But you need a flexible site that you can control then to take all that excess content and move it to their own pages. Right? You can't do that with a manufacturer site. And so I think the model is so broken there that the OEM should take a page out of like what Toyota Canada did, like literally almost 10 years ago. What Nissan does up here, and again, it also gets skewed with, and not that they're good or bad, but there's that those parties that are in between the manufacturer and the dealers going, well, we'll push the paper around, so we'll be that intermediary, and it just skews it. Dealers just need to get into their tech, have the tech easy to use, and allow them to control it. Because you know what? Like, there's this worry that they're going to go off on these tangents and, like start thinking like Danny Benitez and go crazy on their websites. They're not, man. They're going to these conferences to learn to put the right things on these websites and build them. But so my play is for the OEMs that still mandate this, I think what they need to focus on the next 5 years is have some trust in their dealer bodies and allow them to work with whatever vendor they choose. But work with brand and web guidelines. It's not hard to do.
Well, I'm a General Motors dealer, and so we work with CDK Cobalt, and a lot of times on forums or things like this, you hear these people going off about Cobalt or CDK or whatever, and really they're just the middleman. Really, the OEMs, they want data. And they want to collect data from our sites. The mandated websites, they are trying to take care of their big client. Well, unfortunately, their client is not me. It's General Motors. And so they're satisfying them because they're their huge client. Meanwhile, I'm looking to CDK to do things for me. They say, well, we would love to do that, and we can do that. But we can't because General Motors wants this here and this there. And so what happens is General Motors or an OEM. I'm not picking on them. I'm proud to be a dealer. Right. But they get their data. They get what they want. They get their brand out. CDK serves them. And there's one person left out that's not really a customer. It's the dealer. It's the dealer.
And the irony of it is you poor saps got to sell all the cars.
That's right. That's right. We get the end result now. And I'm not here to sing a sad song because we do fairly well with what we do. But the system is just broken. And I love your suggestion. I love what Toyota Canada is doing. It's almost like the co-op advertising situation here. Use some of these brand elements. We don't want to get our brand screwed up. Then we're going to let you be you in your market. I think, long term, I think they would see that we would grow. But it's hard, I would imagine, for them to trust so many knuckleheads like us.
Well, but we said though, like we all, the small and the big dealers are hired. Like I said, again, it's that DIY thing. We are hiring people in to help, push the store's message or the retail message or the things we need to have in market. Like we are building staff out, and I think you'll see an evolution of the in-house staff anyways evolve to, like, there may not be 20 sales guys on the floor. There'll be 15 and 5 marketing. Like, things will evolve, but the OEMs have to let go of the reins a little bit and allow, like, to your point, like, bring in the guidelines that you need across from the brand. But it's just when the OEM's controlling it too much, it's more of a brand story, and it's not about the retail story, the tactical story that right. dealership needs to.
And if I have a third-party site, what are some things that I can do on my site? What's the top 3 things that Brent Weiss says to really make sure that you're doing?
Top 3. First, like I said, I just came back speaking about it. Is quiet up the site. Like look at every page of the site and go, if I had to cut this down to one goal per page, even the front page, what is that, right? Like where do I want to point people in when they're on a page based? It could be a VDP, it could be a blog post. What is the goal of that page, right? To honestly look at each page and try to disseminate it down to one goal. Okay. That's one thing I would. Second thing is, like I said, if you're doing your own thing, it's like work with your vendor, or if you're designing it yourself, and truly think mobile first with every page, right? Like when you're thinking about it, like what is it here? Stop looking at your desktop 30-inch flat monitor and start looking at it here, because your customer is not on a 30-inch monitor when they're at the store, or when they're walking around, or when they're looking at something. Right. They're doing this first because your traffic. So So the second point is be cognizant of how much mobile traffic you actually got. Because talking to people this week in Orlando, man, like there's guys that have serious numbers, like the number, like 65%, 70% of their traffic now is coming in off mobile. So
we're 55% in West Texas, Amarillo, Texas.
I know. I got small stores up here in Ontario too, in Canada, that have tons of mobile traffic. Like, just think mobile first, right? Okay. First thing is quiet it down. Think one goal per page. Second is like mobile first, right? Okay. Mobile first all the time. Okay. And your design is going to quiet on the big. If you're starting to look at like redesigning with your vendor, make sure they're doing their design to mobile first. And then the last thing is like think about, like, and my thing is, and I guess it's a content marketing play, right? This goes back to like stuff that Mike Cirillo talks about all the time, and I'll throw a shout out to Mike again. But like with that goal, how much of your content is question and answer, right? Like turn that website into Q&A right across the board.
Right.
Like is every page answering a question? And those questions are based on those goals. Again, it's like, and how that ladders into content marketing. Like I think that's while it's been around long enough, there's such a smart play to really focus on content marketing proper.
Right.
So content marketing, mobile first design, single out those goals per page. And I think that those are easy things to do. They're not tough. It's not new science. It's not bullshit baffles brains, right? It's just keep it simple.
And if you are out there, if you're like me and you really don't have the ability or the budget or whatever to go third party, the OEM sites, work with your advocate and do everything that you can. You can quiet the site, even if you do have an OEM site. You can do these things that will help you, but just because you're maybe, let's say, stuck with an OEM mandated site doesn't mean that you give up. It doesn't mean that there are not things you can do. You can use these same principles within those guidelines, and some of the benefits are that, as far as for us, it's all co-opable, it's inexpensive, it's there. They have really big data to support what they're doing. So I don't want anybody to be upset or depressed because I know I do get that way from time to time. But make the best of what you have and be unique
True.
and be different.
And we said earlier, right? And question everything. When you are working with vendors or third parties, anytime you're doing stuff, right? Don't just settle for what people are telling you. Dig in, ask questions, ask why, get on Google, man. Like we've got, wouldn't it be amazing if we had something in our pocket that we could talk to and it could give us like a whole bunch of answers? Like, wouldn't that be incredible? And I don't know what that is.
You're talking crazy now, man. Spaceman.
I don't know I don't know what it is.
Who are you?
If there was something I could carry around and just ask it questions and it could tell me shit, that would be pretty amazing.
Wishful thinking, Buck Rogers.
Now, that's Jetsons type stuff, I know. But if we could do that, so just keep asking questions, man. Like, and don't settle for stuff that's being produced for you. And like, if a vendor's not showing you stuff and not letting you access the things you could access because of the data they're showing you, then flag it up. But just keep asking questions.
Do any of these vendors ever slant the numbers or the data they show you?
No, never.
They're all accurate.
That's my point.
Yeah.
They're all, that's what I mean. Like even for us, right? Like we've never withheld access into dealers' Google Analytics or their AdWords accounts or anything like that. And I know there's a lot of companies that do the same, right? Like allow people to look at what they need to look at. Stop dressing up bullshit reports. And I know there's probably vendors out there that are going to light me up like a Christmas tree, but I don't think, what I mean? Like it's a practice that's going to kill you because the dealer set are going to too many shows now. They're educating themselves too fast. And if you're going to come out with canned reports and locking people out of analytics suites or AdWords accounts, you're asking for it, man, because they're gonna push you to task and they're gonna walk away because you're not allowing them to see what you're doing. And if they're spending money with you, you owe them that. Can I do one shameless plug for people out there?
Yes.
We launched this magazine and this website called The Strategy Mob.
Right.
www.strategymob.com.
It's sexy too, man. It's so cool. Who does all the graphic stuff? Are you in on that?
We do it. We do it all. We got a really wild team in Toronto, and we're so proud of it. And I think about 13,000 rooftops this month are going to get it. We're just trying to add rooftops all along. But the reason why I want to put it out there is because I want vendors and dealers alike to contribute to it and add to it and article to it, because it's not just like your forum where you go up anytime you want. Like we have editing teams and management teams that will actually work with you in those contents and deadlines and things. Like it's proper publication 101, right? Like, but we're just trying to make it different. We're trying to make the voice different, and we just don't want the same stuff written about. And we're going to bring it off vertical, but I want dealers to become aware of it, because if your store's not on our list, we're going to get you on the list, like to get it mailed to you once a quarter. But again, I want people who want to have a voice on stuff in there. I want them talking about it, and from the millennials to the guys that have been around 40, to the dinosaurs like yourself. And we can't discount that, because we think everybody that's our age, doesn't know shit about digital or anything. Right. And I think there's a lot of guys that either can help the millennial set learn about closing or facts of the business that how I learned and cut my teeth. But, there's a lot of reverse mentoring as well that can be there. So I think the mob will the magazine and the platform will help those groups really sort of dig in and collaborate and work. So
you're standing up and you're fighting the good fight beyond the business. We all have to be humans, and we have to understand that we're a fraternity and a sorority, and we're a group of people that we're stuck with each other. So let's make the best of it, and let's try to prop each other up and educate each other and motivate each other, inspire each other. And I just love the fact that you do it. I can see right into your heart, and man, I just like your voice, man. I do.
Thanks, man. And yeah, like I said earlier, I think the movement now with like you said with all of us is, I think if we start just like really approaching each other with a lot of trust, a lot of empathy, and a lot of understanding, right? We'll all be successful at that, right? And then if we're allowing ourselves and helping each other be successful, regardless of, even if you're not using my tool and you're helping someone do that, then we're all winning, and we'll all it all gets reciprocal really quick.
That's right.
And we just need to understand all the time. It's not this dog eat dog, like I'm going to crush you and F that, man.
Yeah,
like,
but there's enough. I'm telling you, there's enough for all of us. And every time I look out the window and I see people still driving up and down the street in cars, it gives me hope. They're still driving cars, they're still trading cars, and as long as they do that, then we'll just we'll take the gloves off and find out who ends up with the business, and really start thinking about the people. They're the ones that are going to win in the end, and it's people like you, I think, that are going to help us get there. How can people get a hold of you?
Okay, you can always get a hold of me here. I'm going to put my mobile phone number on this broadcast. 647-403-5429. That's my mobile. Text me anytime you want. I give it away everywhere I go because I'm not smart. But that's at Brent Weiss, BrentWees is Twitter. Find me there.
Absolutely one of my faves in the business, and keep fighting the fight, brother.
Yeah, you too, Danny. Thanks so much for having me on. It's killer that you're doing a show because you're as engaging as shit, brother. And I think it was about time you got something online. But again, I appreciate you as well, and what you do, and stuff like this for just people to. This is a good resource for content for dealers and what they're doing, and they need stuff like this from their peer group. So good on you for taking it up another notch.
Well, thanks, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, brother.
All right, see you, buddy.